Hey guys, it's Matt here. Welcome to DIY Dad. Finally gonna build something today. It's been a long time since I posted a video, mainly because wood prices are out of control right now, so I haven't really been building anything. And I've also just been really busy this summer. But today I've got a project that I'm working on for a friend of ours. I actually built them a bookshelf a few weeks ago, and I kind of just forgot to film it. She gave me some wood because she didn't want to pay wood cost at the store, basically. So she had an old bed frame, a solid wood bed frame that she gave me to use, cut it up, made a bookshelf, and she wants me to use the remaining bits to make her a coffee table or something. She wasn't very specific with what she wanted, so I'm just gonna make like a small little coffee / side table. So it's kind of, I don't really know what I'm building yet. I just know I have the wood, so I'm going to kind of take it out and see what it looks like, and we're going to come up with something. So we'll see what it looks like. Quick little tool plug here. My trusty DeWalt miter saw. I cannot recommend one of these enough. As you can see, there's some scrapes, some bruises, and let's see, where's the rest of it? Here's where it fell. It got pretty dinged up. So basically, it sits on the stand like right here in this tiny little garage I have that's got too much stuff in it. And it got hooked to the back of my mower wheel there, and I didn't realize it, and I had my headphones in like an idiot. And I drug it from there all the way to about right here. It fell over and just drug. I made a pass down the line and came back, and I saw it laying there. I was like, what in the heck just happened? So worried that I tore it up. Cranked right back up, checked the measurements on it. Everything's still fine. Good old trusty DeWalt. If you got the money to grab you one, I'd highly recommend it. The first one I had was a Harbor Freight, and it lasted literally 2 months. So can't recommend DeWalt enough. So after further clarification with the wife, which is always recommended, turns out the lady wants a nightstand, not a coffee table or side desk. So glad I checked. So this is what I have left. I actually do have some more plywood in there, but I think that one sheet should probably be plenty. Well, maybe not. I'm probably gonna need a little bit of another one. So these are gonna be the sides and the back, and I'm gonna get my table saw. I'm gonna rip these 1x10s or so, and I'm gonna rip these into little strips. That's gonna be the frame, and probably not gonna use those. I just kind of got everything cut out. So I'm gonna kind of sketch something up real quick and kind of think about it before I start cutting, and I will show y'all what I come up with. Measuring my own nightstand, just kind of went off the same basic measurements. About 30 inches tall, 17.5 deep, and 28 inches wide. She wants her little shelf in the middle. So we're gonna go ahead and cut these 1x10s into little 1x2 strips, and that's gonna serve as our frame. So I'm about to measure those and get it set up on my janky little table saw over here. It still gets the job done. And we're gonna strip those boards real quick, and then we'll get them put together. Sometimes using janky tools means you kind of have to get it set up jankily. So this old fence here is only really accurate on one side. I mean, I know I can get it set up where I want on this side, but is it going to be the same over there? So the best way I do it, I just lay a flat piece of board there. And I just kind of look, see if we're about the same. And see right here, it is not. Well, you know, I need to be looking at the inside board there, not the outside. Let's see. It's pretty close, actually. I'm gonna go ahead and say we're actually good. And it has a little cut right there, so probably should use a straighter little board, but I think for the most part that's gonna be fine. So I'm gonna run a few test pieces through there just to make sure, but I think that's gonna be perfect. Ran this little piece of backing through there, and looks perfect to me. I would say that we are set up. start running the strips through there and getting them cut out. Alright, we got all our strips cut for now. Might need to more in a little bit, but we can go ahead and start building our frame. I just got to chop these down to size, measure, and chop with my miter saw. That's next. I'm cutting these longer ones down to 30 inches. That's going to be the height, the four corners going up vertically. And I was just going to show you kind of a quick way to cut all these down to the proper size without having to measure every single one of them. Well, it's only 4, but still, time adds up. You know, I'm trying to do it as quickly and efficiently as possible. So I went ahead and measured just one of them to 30 inches. Put it on my saw here. Make sure that my saw is going to be right on the opposite side of that 30-inch line. I want it on the about 30 and an 1/8 inch. So I make sure that board is exactly 30 inches. And what you could do with, if you have one of these miter saws, or if you don't have this little handy tool, you can always use just a hand clamp or something else. But regardless, get you a board or something that can mark your spot. So every single time you put a board up here, it's going to cut it at that exact spot. So now I can run those 3 through there and just chop in no time. And now I've saved at least 5 minutes or so just to measure your line, mark your line, draw your line, and then have to line it up with the saw and get it cut. Now I just literally throw the piece of wood under there and chop it. So just kind of a quick way to do it. I'll go ahead and get all these chopped real quick. Alright, got these chopped down. They're all exactly the same length, 30 inches. One issue that I wish I would have realized before I chopped it, this end here had an old knot in it. This would have been the perfect end to cut off, and I had a good end on the other side. It's going to be difficult to screw a sport brace in there, so what I'm going to do is just cut all of these another inch or so and make it a little bit shorter, and that's going to be okay. It's not going to be that big of a deal. My nightstand's kind of tall anyway, so I'm just going to knock a little bit off instead of having to rip a whole new piece and all that fun stuff. So I'll fix that real quick. I was just being lazy, so I just went ahead and just ripped another one and chopped it. It didn't take very long at all. So we're back to our original plan of 30-inch cuts. Actually, you know what? This one still needs to be cut some more because it was a different board than those, so they were a different length. So I'm going to have to cut it a little bit more. It's not quite 30 inches. As you can see, that's the trash board. I'll just cut a little bit more off of that one. Alright, apologize for the wind that picked up. It's probably messing with my phone because this is all I have to really record with right now. Alright, so from the time lapse you just saw, all I did was Kreg Jig some pocket holes into these two side frames here. So that's the front and back, and then that's up and down, and that one's going to be just like that on the other side. So now I'm going to take those are the cross braces there. I'm going to put some pocket holes in those. Those are going to come across. We're going to have our little box. Once we have our box, we're going to cut some plywood and put the plywood on the inside to kind of give it a depth look, almost sitting there like a frame. Well, I had a time lapse of me putting this together, but something happened with the camera and it didn't record. But anyway, here we are. So this is the frame. It's laying on its side right now. It had one little mishap here. It split on me right here. So it's kind of a, that could be a serious issue there. So what I'm going to do, well, I already kind of did, I filled it with some glue. I'm going to take my clamp here and I'm going to clamp it down and let it sit there and dry for a few hours or so. I'll come back and it should hold pretty good. That glue is ridiculously strong, so that'll be fine. And once that's done, then we're going to, well, while that's curing, I'll probably start measuring plywood, cutting out plywood, and kind of figuring out the rest of it, how I'm going to do it. Get to it. Alright, so I went ahead and cut a base here. And as you can see, it doesn't come all the way over, and that's fine. Because, actually now I'll look at it. So what I'm probably going to do is cut another 3/4 off or so I can get a board between there, because the side board is going to be on the back side of this. Just realized that. I'm glad I haven't tacked it down yet. So I'm going to cut it just a little bit more so I can fit a board between it. That way, you know, if I just put the board on top of it and you look at it, you would be able to see one, you'd be able to see this, and it just wouldn't look good. So I want that board to be able to go between it. So I'm going to have to trim a little bit more off, and once I get it trimmed, I'm going to glue and probably hair nail it down with some little tack nails. And then we'll start on the sides. Still got I found another little crack right here. It wasn't too bad, put a little glue in it. And let's see, this one, where is it? This one's looking a lot better. It's going to be good and strong whenever I take that off. I'm probably just going to leave those on overnight. They're not in the way right now. I can still put the sides on. And the only thing is the tabletop, which you don't have to put that on today. I'll put it on tomorrow. No big deal. Right now I'm just praying for that cloud cover to come my way, because I tell you what, it is really, really hot out here in Louisiana right now. Alright, trying to trim a little more off. Alright, I'm going to try to talk in here because it's not as windy in here, and I'll walk out there and kind of show y'all what I've done. So I finished the base. I had to cut a 1/2 inch off on each side to allow that board to sit inside. I'll show you what I'm talking about. And then I cut a little notch off the front for the for a little piece of frame I'm going to put in there to hide that board, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Alright, so you see this is a little notch here that I cut. The little strips that we got from stripping that 1x10, I had a short one somewhere. It's going to sit perfectly. That'll be back. It's not all the way pushed in, and it'll fit more perfectly now. Let's see, push there. A little bit of a gap, that's okay. It's not that big of a deal. I'll put a little wood filler in there. So that way, this little board here will hide that, that piece of plywood. And then on this side, on your side, it's going to kind of look like a frame. And since that goes now below the floor piece there, the little bottom piece, it's pushed flush yet. We'll sit flush against that. I'm trying to do this with one hand. We'll sit like that. I'll tack that in there. That'll go up a little higher than that, so you won't see the gap there. It'll sit in the middle of that top board there. I'll do that on both sides and get it secured in there, and we'll almost be ready to start on the tabletop. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that other piece cut out, get it measured up, and I'm going to tack all this in there. Meanwhile, these are still drying, looking good. It's coming out pretty good for not having more than a dimensional drawing. So, I'll be back here shortly. Again, excuse the wind, it's pretty windy out here today. Got one side done so far. Looks pretty good. It's a little crate. So all I did was I glued the edges, and then I just had some 1¼ brad nails. Popped them in there with the pneumatic air gun. It's going to be plenty strong enough to put on the shelf in there. Have to do the same thing to the other side. Once we get the other side in, we're going to drop the bottom in, and then we'll work on a little backing. I think I've got some real small 1/4-inch board that we'll stick on the back there just to hide the wall. Alright, got both sides on. The bottom dropped in there perfectly. Got a little gap back there. It's not that big of a deal. You won't be able to see it once the backing is on there. Got my notches lined up where they're supposed to be. That's for the, if you can see here how you'd be able to see that plywood without the board there. So stick that in there and it'll hide it. Should look all right. So I know that, you know, like right here, this isn't stained, but I'm gonna try to match this stain that was already on the wood, and I have to stain those parts. Just kind of some stuff you run into whenever you're using reclaimed wood. You know, you just gotta have to make it match. Use what you have. But I think it's gonna come out pretty good. I'm not too worried about it not matching up here in the back. You're never going to see anything back here. I mean, we're going to have a shelf right here going across, and then there's going to be backing, and then obviously your front. So it's you don't have to stress too much about the back ends of these things. Just as long as it sits in there and it's sturdy, which has a check for both, so we should be good. All right, I'm going to go ahead and tack that floor down in there. And I'm going to get these strips cut, get the strips put in, and then we'll start thinking about the backing and the tabletop. Last little bit here, we'll work on the top. So I'm going to obviously cut these. They're going to hang off about 1/2 inch on either side and 1/2 inch on the front. Be flush on the back, and then I'm going to rip a board off of that one standing up over there to fit in the middle. So you know, they're not all going to fit perfectly, and that way, you know, I could rip all of them and have just, you know, a bunch of planks, but I don't like to do a lot of ripping if I don't have to. It's kind of dangerous. I'm not a fan of it all the time. But this will look just fine. You know, and I could do it like this too, but I just feel like if someone were to put pressure on that lip hanging over, it's just not enough there to hold that little piece down. So I think it'll do just fine in the middle. Get it all put down and measured out. All right, got the top on. I know the boards don't match, and it doesn't look perfect, but that's okay. I wanted it to kind of have like a rustic looking, you know, not perfect looking look. You know, I don't want it to look like something that you just picked up from the store. Usually when I do my tabletops, I'll pocket screw them together to make sure it stays perfectly flat, but I'm okay with that look. I don't mind it. I'm gonna sand it down real good, and then we're gonna get them matched up on the top later on. And but yeah, like I said, usually what I'll do is I won't even screw them in from the top. I'll pocket screw them in from the bottom, but the fact that I had already put these sides on and just decided to just do it this way, and it looks fine. And what I'll do is I'll put some wood putty on top of these, and you won't even see those screw heads. Sand it real good, and then get the stain to match. Good to go. So I don't have a backing like I thought I did, so we might just leave the backing off for now. Next step is to put a shelf in the middle. So start measuring and get some more plywood cut. We are just about finished with this thing. Not too bad. All right, got the shelf cut here. I figured out where it needs to be on the side here. The space divided in half is 12 7/8. So I'm going to mark that spot, and then this piece of scrap here, I'm going to cut it in half, line it up, and that's what the shelf is going to sit on top of. Screw it into the wall there on either side. Tack the shelf on top of that, and then we'll have us a shelf. And all we have to do next is find some backing and obviously get this all looking the same. We're just about done. Alright, got the shelf in, tacked it down good and tight. Even. That's pretty good. That's about all I can do today, because I don't have any backing. I've torn my garage apart. Have the wife come out here and see if she can match up some stain. She's the artsy type, I'm just the builder. So, and that's it. When you get the complete product done here, I'll take another video. Nothing to it. It's a good way to reuse a bunch of wood that was just sitting around doing nothing. And I still have some scraps here. What I've been doing my scraps is I send them to my nieces and nephews, and they make small little signs and coasters and just artsy stuff, and then they sell it. They have these little kid fairs in the local town nearby, and they sit out there and they sell their stuff for a few dollars and make some money. It's a good way to get the kids out and do something instead of sitting inside and watching tablets all day or whatnot. So, good way to use your scraps. You know, if you can't find anything to do with it, give them to a kid. Get them outside, get them doing something. Teach them. You know, always room to learn some new stuff. All right, well, I'm gonna start picking up and take another video here in the next day or two whenever we get the next step done. All right, here we got our finished product. Wife stained it last night. I don't know the name of the stains. Went a dark brown stain. It's not really what I would have picked for myself. I would have had maybe some white accent around the frame here, or vice versa, stain and that white. But you know, that's what the lady that wanted me to build this for, that's what she wanted. So that's how I got her. I made sure to drill those screws in a good bit, cover them with some wood putty so you can see them. That's about it. Oh, I did add a little piece of trim right here just to kind of give it a flatter look there, a thicker shelf look. Add to keep it from without that, it would just had a tiny little thin piece of shelf there. It just didn't look right. So this kind of brings it to the front, keeps everything nice and flush with the edge. Just makes it look good. A little bit of touching up to do in there with the stain. That plywood's kind of hard to stain. And the lady, she said she didn't want any backing on it, so I'm not going to worry about backing. So that's it. Very easy to do. All reclaimed wood. This is all made out of some old plywood sheets that were that went between the mattress and between the mattress and the bottom of the bed, and the rest of it was all the slats and railings. Ripped them with the table saw and made a nightstand out of it. So there you go. Good opportunity to make something that was just sitting around and turn it into something good. Appreciate you watching. If you have any questions, just let me know, and hopefully I'll be able to put a few more videos out. It's been a long, stressful, busy summer. Hopefully these wood prices go down and I'll be able to build more stuff. So until next time, catch you later.